hard. In waste management, in insurance, annuities. There's a lot of fortunes been made in those. That's hard money. That's hard money. Dealing with the public, waste management, you know what you're dealing with. Hollywood money's too easy. It's glamorous, too easy, too quick. If you hit it big, it's just too easy. Making $500,000 to put something on Instagram? Got to be kidding me. That's why I got so many messed up families. And I watch Kansas City, and they're starting to remind me of the Kevin Durant, Steph, Clay Warriors the first year. It's too easy. And psychologically, when it's that easy, it's hard to play with a ton of urgency. Think about this. If I told you Patrick Mahomes had 462 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, Tyreek Hill had 270 yards, Patrick Mahomes had 124 passer rating, you'd be like, oh my God, who they beat 46-13? No, actually, they won 27-24, and if not for completing a third down pass, 43-year-old Tom Brady at home got the ball left with a minute. They were great on third down. They had 20%, 25% more first downs. They dominated time of possessions. Mahomes was perfect. Tyreek Hill was unguardable. And they won 27-24 and needed a third down completion to seal it. In New England, that was waste management. That was annuities. It was never easy. I mean, the Randy Moss years for a couple years in the regular season looked easy, but it wasn't easy in the postseason. I mean, Tom Brady went to 9 Super Bowls in New England. 8 of them were one-possession games. And the 9th one, the Rams, he was awful. Tom Brady never scored a touchdown in the first quarter of any Super Bowl he's been in. Think about that. It's always been hard. New England won with efficiency and detail. It was never easy money. And I think that's why it was always, every New England game, you rarely saw them. I mean, Joy and I watched the last 15 years of that. They were never inconsistent. You got the same team every week. Kansas City, you don't get the same team every half. It's not a knock on it, but they scored 10 points in the final 3 quarters. When you're so brilliant, when you're so beautiful, when it's so easy, when you're so talented, and it's effortless, it gets to your head. It's hard. You know, the Chicago Bulls were really consistent. I mean, they'd have the occasional bad game against an expansion team, but, you know, as great as the Chicago Bulls were, they weren't pretty. They were tough. Scottie Pippen never shot a great jumper. Michael scored a lot of his points at the rim, getting tackled. Dennis Rodman, old guys with knee braces like Steve Kerr. I mean, they had these Will Perdue's, and if you go look, Ron Harper's, if you go look at the DNA of the Chicago Bulls, the greatness of their dynasty was, it was never easy. Kobe, Shaq, that was easy. There were some easy times. Magic, Kareem, sometimes it was easy, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy with New England's dynasty. It wasn't. To the very end, they were trailing Seattle. They were trailing Atlanta. They struggled against the Rams. They all looked like the Eagles Super Bowl or the Giants Super Bowl. They all looked like that. And so as I watch them, I think to myself, boy, Andy Reid's going to have to put his foot down with this team a lot. They're young. They're talented. It's easy money. The wins come easy. The points come fast. And you go back to that Kevin Durant, Steph, Clay Warriors. The first year, flew through it, like Kansas City last year. Kansas City, week 12, defense is healthy, flies through the league. Second year, the Warriors, KD, Steph, forced to 7 in the Western Conference Final. The year after that, they went to 6 games in the first round and 6 games in the second round against clearly inferior teams. Some of this stuff, when you win early and it's easy and it's effortless and you're brilliant, it's not the hitting, it's the head. You got to battle yourself. I don't remember seeing a team. I mean, Kansas City, that's why I compare them to the Warriors. I don't remember any NFL team that scores this fast, this quick, this easy. It looks like a 7-on-7 drill. And Tampa's got a defense. It looks like high school 7-on-7 stuff. It's just kind of strolling back there, and Mahomes just keeps backpedaling and backpedaling and backpedaling. He plays like nobody else does. He just keep back. 7-step drop. He's like 13 steps back. Then kind of sign arms it up the field. Oh, nobody can guard Tyreek Hill. Another touchdown, 270 yards. Fastest guy in the league. Best tight end in the league. Best quarterback arm in the league. Running backs can play. Offensive line can block. Coach is brilliant. Joy with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
I can see Nick Wright right now watching that rant.
Oh, I was on the phone with him. And the minute Mike Evans caught that from Brady, Nick's like, I got to go. That's exactly what he hung up on me. He goes, and his TV, because he's on the East Coast in New York, his TV is 6 seconds ahead of me. So Brady walking up to the line, Nick goes, on. I'm like, what? Oh, I got to go.
It's hard to watch games with anyone who is like a little bit ahead or behind you.
Yes.
It's like, let's just text. So the Packers made it look easy last night. It was pretty much unwatchable by the third quarter.
Chicago games are really increasing. I know it's a big market. Their games are tough to watch.
Well, they win ugly, and they lose ugly. They lose ugly, too. 41-25, Packers beat the Bears last night. Aaron Rodgers threw for 211 yards and 4 touchdowns. He also became the 11th player to reach 50,000 career passing yards and hit that mark with the second fewest attempts in NFL history, so still brilliant. Green Bay's defense also had a big game, forcing 3 turnovers from Trubisky, who is making his first start since week 3 and suffered his first loss of the season. Nicest
bad quarterback ever. He's such a wonderful kid. You can tell the players like him. When I watch him,
everybody likes him. Even Tony Dungy could not bring himself to be critical of him.
I mean, I just think Mitch Trubisky's one of those guys that you would love as a friend. He would drive you to the airport, even if he was sick and down in the dumps. But I didn't get it when he came out. I don't get it now, and it just they got to reboot the quarterback situation in Chicago, or else it's just going to be this against Green Bay for the next 3 years.
We definitely need more nice people in the world.
Yes,
there's nothing wrong with being nice, but
I'll take a little less nice at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you could just be 10% less nice, and we'll deal with it for, an upgrade in that position. I just feel bad for Chicago fans, and I've felt like this for the past couple of years with Chicago, which is why I think it's so strange that they're consistently in this predicament at the quarterback position. Not that it's easy to find a quarterback, but I mean, we all know who they passed up on.
Well,
so my thing is, like, you have a defense that is capable, right?
You know what they did? That Jay Cutler had a great arm, but was incredibly difficult.
Right.
And then they go interview Mitch Trubisky, and they don't like the arm, but he's such a nice guy.
You overcorrect.
So they overcorrected. So the word on what Chicago did is that Cutler was so poisonous in the locker room and so difficult. They didn't like the guy, but they loved his talent. And then they went and interviewed Trubisky, and they didn't love his talent, but they loved the guy. And they thought, you know what? He's everything Jay's not. Everybody will love him. He's athletic. His arm isn't great. The throwing motion, the mechanics are awful, but they overcorrected. It's like we've all done this before. You date somebody and they're super nice, but you can walk all over them. So then you want to date somebody that you can't walk over, and after about a year, you're like, I miss walking over somebody because now this person's driving me nuts. Trubisky's the opposite of Cutler, and the truth is the answer is somewhere in the middle.
As with most things in life.
That's right.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's easy to find the perfect franchise quarterback. It's not, obviously. Every team goes through patches of this, and that's understandable. My thing is, you can't fool the locker room, right? Like, it's fine to be a great person, and that's actually a nice thing to do. But at the end of the day, players want to win. So if Jay Cutler was a horrible person and was winning, everyone would overlook it. The problem is that generally doesn't happen. Like, you don't have a lot of stories of great leaders who are half the locker room hates. That's not how it works. So again, like we always talk about, just find some balance in life.
Right.
And don't disregard the actual tangibles of a real good player. So the Patriots keep their playoff hopes alive, miraculously, with a big win over the Cardinals. Cam Newton struggled all day, but 2 rushing touchdowns from James White and a game-winning field goal from Nick Folk were enough to win 2017. Patriots defense was solid, limiting Arizona's offense to just 298 yards, and it was their second lowest of the season. And Kyler Murray did not have a passing touchdown for the first time this year.
Well, again, let's be fair now. So what is Belichick known for? What is Belichick the best in the NFL at?
Defense.
Well, not only that, he is Einstein against young quarterbacks.
Well,
Josh Allen's been terrible. Darnold's been horrible. So Kyler Murray's like, okay. He doesn't get to see him in a division. He's never seen Belichick's defense. And Belichick, all these young quarterbacks, This is one of these.
Yeah, his record against young quarterbacks is staggering.
It's like 31-3. And so Kyler never seen Belichick. He has no idea what he's going to get defensively. And Cliff Kingsbury's a college coach, just became an NFL coach. So when I watch that game, I'm like, oh. It's one of those you should have betted after the fact. I'm like, oh, of course Kyler Murray's struggling because Josh Allen struggles and Kyler struggled. All Baker struggled against him. All young quarterbacks struggle.
But just the experience.
Yep.
Cardinals are now 6-5. So if you look at the AFC playoff picture, though, talking about the Patriots still being in the mix, they're at 5-6. Raiders 6-5, and the Ravens are 6-4. So they are still technically in the hunt in the playoffs. They have the Chargers, Rams, Dolphins, Bills, and Jets left. So
how